didn't vote for 3 people. Did you?
No.
See? You know why.
We'd like to welcome you to our City Council meeting this evening, Tuesday, November 19th, 2019. For the record, all City Council members are present this evening. We have members of the staff. We have members of our Youth City Council with us who will give a report. And we have newly elected Steve Hilton. Nice to have Steve with us and others, but we welcome you all here this evening. I've asked Councilor Orange of Allegiance.
Everyone, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we would like to take a moment of silence as we do in our city council meetings, and as we take a moment of silence, we would invite you to remember those who are serving in our military, that are serving around the world and here at home to protect the many freedoms of this great nation that we live in. We'd also ask you to remember our first responders, our police, our firefighters, and those who serve in our behalf, and for their service. We would ask you to remember our city council this night as they make decisions, that they might make decisions in the best interests of the people that they serve. We'll now have a moment of silence. Thank you very much. We'll next move on to public comment. This is a period of time that you can come forward to the microphone if you like. If you have any concerns or ideas you would like to bring forward the City Council tonight, you're welcome to do that. We just ask you to state your name and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Before we start that, would like to remind you to sign in. There's a sign-in sheet out on the table just outside the door. We have to keep a record of everybody attends our city council meetings, and we would invite you to sign that sheet. So time is yours for public comment if there's anyone here this evening. Seeing none, we'll move on to presentations and reports. First, we have the mayor's report. I don't have too much tonight. I know Brent Ellis mentioned in our work session about our Veterans Day program that it went very well. We had a really good speaker in Colonel John Eberlin. He's commander of 75th Air Base Wing. He came and spoke, and really some timely comments. I know people were really impressed with what he had to say, and we had children from Roosevelt Elementary that sang, and they did a great job. They were really excited to come here. I don't think from judging from our work session meeting, there's a lot of people in Riverdale that don't realize that we have Riverdale children go to Roosevelt Elementary. There's children that live on our East Bench go to that school. So we included them this year. We try to rotate it each year to a different school. So is there any reports from our city council? Reports from any of the committees they serve on tonight? Going to move on to the city administration report. That's Mr. Worthen. Would you like to do that, please?
Thank you, Mayor Searle. Council, in your packet this evening is our monthly report from the administration of the city. You can see the department reports that we have provided to you for October, listing activities that the department heads have been undertaking. I would like to come back to that here real quick as part of our employee anniversaries, our recognition there. Our staffing authorization plan, part of that, we're currently 2 FTE under authorized FTE for the city. The community development report, council is in front of you. I don't know if any of you have eaten at the Zhao Asian Cafe yet. It is open. We've tried to do a ribbon cutting ceremony there, but we've been unsuccessful in getting them to agree to one. So they just want to get going with their business. And I don't blame them. They've been a while in getting into that new space there along Riverdale Road. The FedEx drop-off site is open inside the Walmart store that I think opened last week, right, Mike? Anyway, it's a nice facility. If any of you have packages from Amazon or whatever that you need to return, it's a great location there inside the Walmart store to drop off packages for FedEx to take out. As you can see, the car wash from Quick Quack is still under construction on 700 West. I believe they poured the curb along 700 West and finalized that. That's good to see. Doing some concrete work and surface work here before the weather gets too cold. I haven't heard any designs on Scandinavian, Mike, or any updates. I shouldn't say designs, but. And then the Brookhaven Office Park is still under construction up there on Cozydale. That's a big building. You drive by there, you get up there. It's a good-sized building. So most of that is already scheduled for lease or rent. So that's good to have in the city of Riverdale. Brings jobs into the community. As far as our employee recognitions, I'd like to point out we have a couple on there. One of them's here with us tonight, and that's Steve Brooks, who has 15 years of service. And Arlene Lee has 20 years of service in our court. I'd like to also make mention of Kirk Favero. And Kirk in our public works staff, as some of you know, I'm glad that he's with us because he had a significant farming accident that he was fortunate in that, and we're glad to have him here with us. He has 22 years of service. It looks like it's court day. Joan Daly has 14 years. She works in our court as well. Derek Engstrom in our police department has 9 years of service. Captain Tracy in our fire has 7. Jamie Boots has 3. He has more than 3 years, but he came back after a period of being off for about a year. Jamie has 3 years. And then Caleb Casper in our community service department has 2 years of service. Would like to thank them for all that they do for our city. I'm amazed at how our departments work together, council, and how they, they'll drop and drop what they're doing to help others. And it's a pleasure to be with them and to help them. I actually had one of my staff members say, staff meeting is pretty funny. He enjoys coming. He didn't mean that it's funny in the sense of humorous all the time, but the discussion and interaction is something that he enjoys rather than something that is dreaded. Oh, I've got to go in and sit for an hour and a half. And that just shows the camaraderie and the friendship that we all benefit from here in Riverdale, and appreciate that. Steve, why don't you come up? You got 15 years. Erlene's not here tonight. She has 20. So we'll leave you her certificate of recognition and give you your recognition. 15 years worth.
Want to give this to him now, or just wait and give it to him? Make him carry it out.
Treating just like a victim of 5 years. So. Don't look so excited.
Didn't even realize it was 15 years. I'm as surprised as anybody here.
Steve, it's an honor to recognize you tonight for 15 years of service. It seemed like you've been here almost forever, and you still got a ways to go. So, but we do appreciate you and appreciate you keeping us out of trouble. You've done a lot of good things. I know this has been a hard year. We've been involved in some legal things, and also been involved in selection of a new judge for Riverdale City, and I know there was a lot of time spent there and a lot of work went into that. So we appreciate all you do. We just need to ask you to take better care of yourselves. For those of you who don't know, he's a beekeeper, and sometimes he forgets which side of the net he's on. And he got stung up pretty good here a little while back, and he's had some leg things he's had to work through this year, and he tried to cut his finger off the other night. So he's liability, is that the legal term? So
Take use of the insurance.
that's right. Scott, glad you got it. So, but we do appreciate all you do. You do a great job, and I know there's anytime we ask you something, you got the answer, you get it for us, and I don't remember ever really getting the wrong answer. I think you've always steered us in the right direction. That's always comforting when you got the wolves bearing down on you, so that's good. So, Roger, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I just say thanks, Steve, for all you do. You ask Steve a question, he'll give you the forthright answer, and that's what I appreciate, his ability to be forthright and to share what he thinks, even if it's not what you want to hear. So, and there are occasions when that happens. Steve also injured his leg in the employee kickball tournament. I want to make note of that. He was gimping home. So, anyway, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
It's just kind of his nature. So, it's, Steve, we got a certificate here, Certificate of Achievement. Riverdale City Corporation hereby expresses sincere appreciation to Steve Brooks in recognition of your personal commitment, dedication, and performance in completing 15 years of service on November 1st, 2019. So, and along with this comes a little cash.
That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Council have anything at this point?
Just since it's on my report, I haven't informed the council this. Our Anderson case, one of those nightmares that's gone on forever, was actually dismissed by the U.S. federal court last week, and that should be the final blow to them. They even recommended to the state of Utah that they take action against the attorney on that case, because he's what we've been complaining about for months and years is they just drug us along forever, and the courts finally recognized that and dismissed it, and they said that they wanted some action taken against that attorney. So that thing's done. We were one step away from the U.S. Supreme Court. That's how long that's gone on. So finally, and that one I think is buried. I don't see that one resurrecting. So that was good news for us, and I haven't informed you guys of that. So
That's great. Thank you, Steve. Move on next. We're excited for this next one, Youth City Council report. We have three young ladies with us tonight from our Youth City Council, and I asked them which one was going to present, and they says we're all going to present. So what we'd like to ask you to do is each of you state your name for the record, and then time's yours. Thank you.
All right, I am Hannah, and I am one of the Youth City Council presidents. And this year we continued to do our haunted house, and we set up an opportunity for families and kids to go through and just enjoy Halloween and get in the spirit of it. And as well as that, we opened a food drive, which we brought to the Catholic Community Service, and we had Riverdale residents come and donate food and canned goods for them.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm another president for Youth City Council. This year we decided to do something a little different in our gym area. Usually we do kid games, and that's basically it. We just do a bunch of kid games and stuff. And this year we decided to do like a spookaboo, which is basically just like a walkthrough thing where we had people dressed up as characters like Minnie Mouse, a witch, a pirate, and we put special prizes. So like for the pirate, we had like gold coins, so something a little different for them this year. And then also we decided to bring in a craft where we got Tootsie Pops or Blow Pops, and they put tissue on top and put a rubber band around it and put 2 eyes on it and made it a ghost. It was really fun to see all of them do that. And then our attendance this year, we had about 400 and over. So it was a really good turnout this year.
Alongside with the gym, we had Sequest donate their time and brought some animals for a petting zoo area. They also donated a lot of passes for the pumpkin prizes as well. Tot Shots donated their time as well and took a lot of pictures and let the community see those. We share them on Facebook. Green Anchor donated out many pumpkins for the community so they could use to enter into the pumpkin contest. And Crumble gave us a discount for our event, so we could get Crumble cookies to pass out. Oh, I'm Jersey, by the way.
How about your last names too? She has to put it in the minutes.
So I'm Jersey Findlay.
I'm Hannah Perry.
And I'm Megan Hancock.
Good. Thank you, ladies, for coming, for your reports. We really appreciate what you do. They talked about the Halloween activity, but gee whiz, they had the Easter egg hunt they do every year. They do the sunrise service that we have on Old Glory Days, and I know there's others. I'm not getting them all, but they go down day with the legislature each year down at the Capitol, spend the day down there with legislators and have some nice, just a nice activity and a real fun day. So we appreciate all you do and the others in your service because you do a wonderful job for the city. So, Council, do you have any comments or thoughts, Mr. Hanson?
My kids really enjoy Halloween each year, so I appreciate you guys putting that on. And come January, there will no longer be any more former youth city council members on the city council. So you've got something to shoot for. Can't wait for the second one. Thanks for your help on the parties. It's much appreciated.
Mr. Mitchell.
I just want to thank them too. They do a great job. I love going to the different things that they sponsor and set up and plan and stuff. And just a reminder, we were going to look into possibly allowing them to use the community center, kind of like employees of the city. Let's just kind of bump that back up to the top and just kind of a reminder of all the things they do. So.
That'd have to be on the agenda, wouldn't it? Fee schedule thing, okay. Sounds good. Well, thank you for being here. We'll move on next to the consent items. First is to approve the meeting minutes from November 6th, the City Council work session, and also the City Council regular session. So, do we have any changes or corrections? Mr. Mitchell.
Motion to approve the consent items with the one addition to the regular session minutes noted upstairs.
Second?
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous in favor. I didn't mention that Rich Taylor, he looks after our community center and also our senior center, but he supervises the youth city council, and I know he does a great job. And the one thing he does best is he lets these young people on the youth city council do their job, and they really plan and do everything, don't they, Rich? It's just amazing what they do. He just kind of turns them loose and lets them go, and they do a spectacular job. So thanks for all you do, Rich, for being here. So Move on to action item number 1 is consideration of ordinance 913. This is a proposed amendments to the alternative land uses and transportation elements of the Riverdale City General Plan. Mr. Egan.
Thank you, Mayor. During the most recent legislative session earlier this year, I'm just going to go hit points of the executive summary for the sake of the record, but the state legislature passed Senate Bill 34, which is entitled the Affordable Housing Modifications. It was the 4-substitute bill that got approved. The bill established requirements from the state for cities and counties to revise their general plan documents and incorporate required amendments to the land use, transportation, and traffic circulation and moderate income housing elements of their respective general plans. The bill also requires cities and counties to prepare annual reporting and review of the moderate income housing plan to be submitted to the Department of Workforce Services, Local Association of Governments Group, and the Metropolitan Planning Organization for our area, in addition to posting this report on our city website. So we were tasked with making these updates. Those updates have been included in your packet as proposals, and they were provided to the Planning Commission at a previous meeting on November 12th. During the meeting on November 12th, a public hearing was held, and it was posted and advertised prior to that in accordance with Utah state law. Prior to the public hearing, there were no comments provided to city staff for that meeting, nor were any public comments provided during the public hearing portion of that meeting. At the conclusion of the public hearing, the Planning Commission reviewed the documentation as presented tonight, felt comfortable with it, and approved the recommendation to City Council for approval of the proposed general plan element changes that are provided to you. Should the City Council take whatever appropriate action is requisite on this, staff will obviously move forward with that, either moving the amendments into the general plan as the formal update to the general plan, and obviously then providing that documentation where appropriate in the future to qualify the city for funding. The purpose, obviously, of all this, as I talk about it, it's not as clear in the executive summary, but it is funding. This is a funding mechanism wherein there's funds that have been made available to cities by the state through UDOT and the metropolitan planning organizations that are now going to be somewhat, I don't know that the term is restricted funds, but definitely incented funds, that if you don't do these things, you would be disqualified to some extent on receiving some of these funds. To what extent, we don't fully understand or know. I don't think it's fair to say we fully comprehend, to the point where UDOT has established a new individual, at least in our region, who will oversee requests for funding tied to this. Now, this is for funding along major roadways. It would be typically state roadways, which would be Riverdale Road, 1050 West, 1150 West, those kind of things. But there are other metropolitan planning organization funding that does affect city streets that we can apply for. And I don't know to what extent this could impact it, but it could. They have told us in previous presentations that this would be a part of some of that funding as well. So it is definitely an effort by the state legislature to kind of dictate how we general plan and how we receive funds relative to projects in our community, especially along roadways. Other than that, the documentation, the guidance documentation from Wasatch Front Regional Council has been provided in your packet, and also the updates that have been proposed to be amended and approved for the general plan update. And I defer to Mayor and Council for further questions on this matter, Mayor.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Eggett, Mr. Arnold?
Steve, didn't you have something to add to that?
If you look on what's in the packet, there's an Exhibit A as an attachment, and the alternative land uses is disclosed in there, and then it just has the heading for the transportation. We need to include that, what Mike has, those changes that he made. It should have been listed there, and it just was left off accidentally. But yeah, that's what we need to include as part of this.
You okay with that? Okay. All right, Mr. Arnold.
I'd move to approve ordinance 913 as stated within the packet with the changes that Mr. Brooks has added.
Second.
Okay, motion, we have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Ms. Evans, would you poll the council on the ordinance, please?
Councilmember Arnold?
Aye.
Councilmember Henson?
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Councilmember Ellis?
Aye. Aye.
Unanimous in favor, thank you. Move on to action item 2. This is Consideration of Resolution 2019-26. This is to accept and approve canvass results from the 2019 municipal election. Ms. Evans.
I can't do all of them now in work session. This is something that was provided to me by the county last night. So I was able to put it in the packet. But I printed it since Mr. Milton's here, so maybe I'll just pull this. So for the city council, Brady Mitchell had 1,115 votes. Steve Milton had 1,030 votes. Alan Arnold had 1,017 votes. And Jessica Vivash had 675 votes, which the total votes casted was 3,837. We just need to get those canvassed, and I will send them to the Lieutenant Governor's office. If you have any questions?
Any questions on that? Okay, do we have a motion then to approve, Mr. Ellis?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve Resolution 2019-26 of the Board of Canvassers certifying the official canvass report of the November 5th, 2019 municipal election for Riverdale City, Utah.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Ms. Evans, will you poll the council on the resolution, please?
Councilmember Ellis?
Aye.
Councilmember Mitchell?
Aye.
Councilmember Arnold?
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson?
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Thank you, Shaylee. I would like to congratulate the top three vote getters, Mr. Mitchell, Mr. Hilton, and Mr. Arnold. They'll be serving a 4-year term on the council. We're happy and excited for all of you, and wish you the best with that. Campaigns aren't easy, and they're not fun, and they're always really, really good when they're over with. So, but we congratulate you and look forward to working with you for the next, at least the next couple of years. So, thanks for taking the time to run for office. There's a lot of people that don't want to do that. So, okay, move on next. The closed executive session scheduled for this meeting will not be done tonight. We won't have that. So, move on next to discretionary items. Do we have any discretionary business for this meeting, Mr. Mitchell?
I just have one quick thing. A resident kind of reached out to me and asked what our policy was, and I don't really expect an answer on this. I just want you to kind of have a heads up that she was asking about our policy as far as maybe motorists that are pulled over with cannabis, and she kind of indicated that the state had said that each city has to have a set of policies or how they're going to handle that, whether they need to have a card identifying a medical need or something like that. I said, I don't really know anything about it. That would be something you have to talk to the city administrator and the police about. But you might look into that and see if that is really the case and if we have a policy and just whatever.
You know anything on that, Chief? Or
Isn't
Steve?
state law the policy?
What we have to do, well, this is the dilemma you have. Federal law has not changed, so under federal law, it's still illegal. The state has gone a step further and allowed medical cards and different things like that, and that's where I think some cities have started to write policies in that regard. We have not at this point. I haven't received any direction, and I don't think the chief has either, to make any changes, because we still have to follow federal law too. So it puts us in a real dilemma here, and until we get some clarification on that, I don't anticipate that we'll do anything at this point. So a possession's still a possession at this point. So we'll deal with it when we're told we have to, but I don't know how we're going to do that. That's a sticky thing until they change the federal law. State law doesn't trump federal law, so it's an interesting dilemma. But we'll deal with it when we have
at least
to.
they're aware of it.
Thanks,
so.
Brad.
Any other discretionary, Mr. Arnold?
Roger, I just wanted to thank you and your staff for the retaining walls and everything on the Coleman Farms. That's actually turning out pretty nice. I mean, I don't know if it looks great to have that in somebody's backyard or not. Right, rather than having a landslide in the backyard as it's coming down.
So Coleman Farms nice.
What's that?
You said that
The
was
retaining
nice.
wall's
Oh,
actually
the
pretty
walls,
nice.
not the neighborhood.
Freaking houses.
It's kind of a different tune.
Thought we
huh?
had you for a second.
If I may, Mayor,
Go ahead.
they're finishing that lower wall. It still has the capstone to go on. That'll be the last course there, and then they'll wrap that up around and tie it into the upper one that's just below 1500 West Street. That one's yet to be done. They've had a difficult time in acquiring enough block from the manufacturer. That's why it's taken so long. But once they get a shipment in, they'll install it and continue moving forward. And then going northward, they've also installed the drainage system that we requested on the north side that will prevent a lot of sediments and water going on adjoining property. So they've responded. It's just taken time to do it.
Are they putting a fence on that capstone too, didn't you say?
Yes.
I hope so. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's got to be 20 plus feet.
Has to be a non-breakaway fence. So it can't be just simple vinyl. Has to be reinforced vinyl, so you can't bust through it.
Any other discretionary? Have a motion to adjourn the city council meeting.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
Sheesh. Get some enthusiasm.
Unanimous in favor. Move on next to our RDA meeting. It's for Tuesday, November 19th, 2019. We have a time here for public comment. Is there anyone that would like to make public comment this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent item. Consent item is to consideration to approve the meeting minutes for November 6th, 2019 RDA meeting. Any changes or corrections tonight on that? Okay, with that, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve consent items.
Second?
Have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous in favor. Move on next to our action item. There's one action item, and this is an annual RDA report for 2019. Mr. Worthen.
Thank you, Chair. Board members, this evening we're presenting the annual report for the year 2019. All the RDA activities are mentioned and discussed in the report as per state requirement. The report was compiled by Lewis, Young, Robertson, Birmingham, and they have already forwarded it to the respective taxing entities that are in need of seeing that report on an annual basis, namely Weber County and the state. It also goes to the taxing entities. This report identifies the increment that has been collected, its investment in the community, and the actions of the agency throughout the city or its project plan areas. That being said, we have a couple RDA areas that are active. It's the 550 West RDA area continues to be active. We'll have a update hopefully for you at your next RDA meeting with Mr. Hansen in that area. And then also the West Bench area, and as you all know, at your last meeting, you approved the extension of that trigger date in the West Bench project area. So that was a significant beneficial action that the RDA undertook up in that area. We're still working with some developers in that West Bench area, also doing some significant planning perhaps that we have in the 550 West. The Riverdale Road RDA does have funds in its, if you will, account, but that RDA is no longer active as far as collecting increment. If there are any questions based on the report, we can entertain those, Mayor, but there's no action that the board is required this evening. We simply need to present it to the board as part of our annual reporting requirements with the state.
Roger, might I just add to the 1050 West's remaining life is 2 years. That's right. A notable consideration.
Yep.
Any question? Go ahead.
Those funds are directed to our senior center operations. That's all I have.
Any comments, Mr. Hansen?
What's the outlook on the CDA?
We are in process of, well, actually, when Rob Sant left Lewis and Young, we lost a lot of institutional synergy and forward movement. He had prepared a draft development agreement with the school district, and we need to get going with presenting that to them for their consideration. Hopefully we will be able to meet with them either in December or January at their next school board meeting, present that draft for their input. But they were favorable to that. That's where we sit with the 700 West area right now.
That's a good thing to have them already on board with us, because the first time we went there, it wasn't like that, so.
They did reduce, Counselor, they did reduce the time frame of participation as well as the budget amount. It's not a big budget. It's just over $2 million in there. It's not a significant budget. So, and then the district's funds are targeted for public infrastructure needs, namely storm drain and sanitary sewer on the lower end of 4400 South.
Still got to go before the county too again, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Any other questions or comments? The closed executive session for this meeting, there's not a need for that tonight, so move on next to discretionary for the RDA meeting. Mr. Hanson.
Is there any news on the Car Quick gas tank?
Oh, yeah. They removed that tank that was left over, as you mentioned, from CarQuick. And the reports came back favorable, just surface contamination around the tank. So easily done, and it's already been remediated. So
No requests for assistance?
no. What they'll have to do, the owner of the property, Mr. Hanson, will have to file the follow-up remediation report with the state. And then once that's filed and they accept it, then the case is closed.
Mr. Mitchell.
This I should have asked in the other discretionary. Did our judge accept? Can we talk about that?
He hunches down.
Mayor, if you want me to, I'll discuss it.
Go ahead.
Yes, our judge has accepted it. He's been showing up. He went to a drug court conference, 2-day conference up in Heber City, and he's been showing up at court here, sitting with the current judges and getting on board. He will have his week training in January, so I've had to schedule outside judges until then to cover us. But he's been here sitting through. He can't do anything. He just has to learn, which is okay because we want him up and going by then. But everything's working out. It's just been a major headache, but it's going. We're good. Haven't missed the court date yet because of it. So
Super good. Anything else? Have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Motion, we have a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous
Seconds,
in
I'll be sitting here
favor.
all night.
Thank you very much for being here. Thank you, Hiltons, and congratulations again.